you guys can follow us on all social media platforms.
Come find us on Facebook, YouTube, or anywhere that you can find podcasts. So, guys, let's go ahead and get started if you don't mind. So, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming and let you know that, Jabari and I, when we first started talking about this show and how we were actually going to brand this or actually bring this up, we really feel passionate about independent filmmakers in the state of Louisiana. And we wanted to find a way to express and to give information through a series, through something we're actually going to put out through podcasts and YouTube channel, to give that information to Louisianians to find ways of building more content here in the state. And so one of the first conversations that him and I actually started with was, I get a lot of calls here at the studio at the ranch about how do I become an extra? How do I become an actor? How do I get into this industry in that form? Me being a former actor, until I lost all my hair and decided to come down here and actually get into the producing world of things. Resonated with that. Jabari, in the same light, who aspires to be a bigger actor, obviously a TV host here in Louisiana, but wants to do more acting. We decided let's make that our first topic of conversation today. And so, Jabari, why don't you tell us a little bit about our guests here real quick, and we'll get this started.
Yeah, so we have really two cool, awesome guests today. We have Ryan Glorioso. He's a casting director. He's casted films like 13 Reasons Why, Now You See Me, Daddy's Home, and even AMC's The Preacher. So we want to welcome Ryan Glorioso.
Thank you.
Yay. And then to my left here, to your right, we have Billy Slaughter. Now, you've probably seen him everywhere because literally you're coming up on your 100th film that you've been in.
Getting close, yeah.
Getting very close. I mean, you can see him like The Magnificent Seven, Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, the Purge series, and also Hulu's TV series that's going to be coming out soon called The First. So I want you guys to kind of tell me a little bit about how you guys got started and, what you do for a living, basically. Start with Billy.
Well, I know Ryan and I both started as actors or an acting background. Being a proud New Orleans native, for me, it started in high school, like most New Orleans stories, And I guess locally we can name names. So I went to Jesuit, but was looking for something to get involved in. Ended up doing all the plays at Mount Carmel. Just got the love for it. Went to UNO for drama. Spent some time training in England, then New York. New York's really where I turned the corner from a stage Shakespearean actor, classically trained, to film, which was always my main inspiration. Started getting involved in film, and where I was really fortunate, I just came out of drama school and was looking for what was next, and that was when our tax credits passed here, and Runaway Jury, the last Grisham film.
Dustin
Hoffman. John Cusack. Amazing cast, and so there were no roles for me, but they brought me in to stand in for Dustin, and he and I hit it off, and I was just a sponge, fresh out of drama school, soaking up everything from some of the greats. I mean, Gene Hackman was in it as well. So Dustin invited me when we wrapped to move out to LA to be his regular stand-in, and I consider that was pretty much my grad school, was just learning in the footsteps of these acting icons, getting to work with folks like De Niro and Streisand on the Falkers franchise. So I just soaked it all up, and then had an amazing opportunity that not many do, which is by that point here at home we had a rapidly developing film scene. So I was able to work in my hometown, doing what I want to do, making movies, and was able to get in on the ground floor, and have been working with lovely people like yourselves ever since.
Awesome. And then Ryan, I've known Ryan, by the way, for a very long time.
Yeah, Jabari. Maybe we'll get into that.
So how did you get started?
I got started. I also was interested in acting from a very young age, probably around 9. I think I told my parents, we have to move to Hollywood because I want to be like Ricky Schroeder. That's how old I am. Nobody knows who Ricky Schroeder is anymore. They started sending me to acting classes and auditioning for local plays here in New Orleans. I grew up on the West Bank in Terrytown, if anybody knows where that is.
West Bank.
And just did sort of that thing until high school, and I went to locally. I went to De La Salle, and De La Salle had, and I don't know if they still have, but we had a pretty great theater department doing like the first play I did in high school was Macbeth. Can I say that?
Yeah, not a theater.
I'm not in a theater.
We're good.
Okay. It's not a theater. So we did Shakespeare and, like straight plays. Did a bunch of theater in high school and went to Northwestern in Louisiana, Northwestern State University for theater. Studied theater there I was on the 5-year plan.
Most of us were.
And then after that, I tried my hand. I went out to California, went to Los Angeles, and I was there for about 8 years as an actor. And then decided that I wanted to try something different. I ended up coming home and, through a set of circumstances, I ended up working in casting, just helping a casting office. And then I figured out that I really enjoyed it. And so I sought more casting work, with that company. And then that grew into me eventually starting my own company and becoming a casting director. And I spent some years in your hometown in Shreveport. Are you Shreveport or Bossier?
Shreveport.
I spent some years. That's where I met Jabari up there when you were in high school, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Jabari would show up to like sets, like
You remember that?
unannounced, and be like, I just want to watch. I just want to learn.
That's how you make your break, right?
Yeah,
I can't believe you remember that.
I remember everything.
Oh, wow.
So I started casting. I guess I moved back from Los Angeles in 2004, and unbeknownst to me, there was a thing happening here, and so I a lot of right time, right place, and a bit of knowledge, which helped me to do what I'm doing now.
That,
which
and
is casting.
you obviously loved your hometown, which
did.
you wanted to be back here, I'm sure, as much as I did, because I had the same approach. I was in New York in 2003, came back here in 2004, and same thing. Tax credits were here, business was here. It actually happened. It exploded all around me, and thank God it did. It helped me to stay home and keep my roots here in Louisiana. So
I think everybody left but me. I've just been here the whole time.
You were young enough to start, when it was a thing.
Yeah.
Here,
Actually,
we had to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing here.
yeah, there
It
wasn't
actually
anything.
started for me after Hurricane Katrina because all the films moved up north to Shreveport because they didn't have a place to film.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of when I jumped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deja Vu was in New Orleans and went up
Exactly.
to Shreveport. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was really interesting. So I think our big thing in this show is that, again, bringing back the fact that we get a lot of people who are very interested in acting. And so that seems to be where the passion resided in all of us here at this table in the beginning of this career that we are all on is, how do we aspire to be filmmakers? And so I think the basic question we're trying to answer today is, if I don't have an agent, if I'm just somebody off the street and I really all of a sudden am passionate about wanting to be an actor, how do I get started? Like, what do I need? What are the tools that I need to become an actor? Where are those resources to actually help somebody become one? And I'll open it up to whoever wants to get started on this.
Well, I've been an acting instructor as well for 15 years now, which is kind of crazy to, when you look at, how far Hollywood South has come. But to me, I'm asked the question a lot, and I think there's a really clear 6-month plan that I'm happy to elaborate on. Just first 6 months in the business, but personally, I think it just starts step one with extra work, which is, I know some people downplay the role of extra work, but to me, it's such a great initial litmus test because you're going to learn whatever you learn, your first experience on set, just getting on set, which is easy to do, easier than many think. It's a learning experience. Some people, they really think they want to be an actor, and then one day on set, and they're like, you know what? They get to see what set life is like, and that it's not as glorious.
10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, standing around waiting for you to actually get called?
Yeah, and so, they're like, you know what? I was completely wrong, and I'm going to go be an accountant for the rest of my life and make easy money, right? And then some folks, do it and say, are all in. They're like, this is great. This is everything I wanted. And then they want to do more. But then the caution there is you don't want to get bogged down in extra work forever. I mean, view it as a means to the end. But I think maybe most people, they have the drive, they get on set, and they realize that I don't want to be an extra forever, but I definitely can see myself here on set long term. And for some of them, that means for the actors that lights a fire under their butt to say, what can I do to build up, the ranks as quickly as possible and take career to the next level. And for some folks, they might go in thinking with, acting aspirations and then just see one of the many other things on set. It's such a collaborative experience. And, that's our next, gaffer or caterer or casting director, So that's a great place to start, I think, just for the experience. And it's so easy to start now, thanks to this man.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out real quick, patience.
Yeah,
so one thing that I think that a lot of people don't necessarily understand is the work effort that is put into anything that you actually want to go out and strive to become or do. And the fact that you need to craft that art. You need to actually get in there and experience those things and give yourself the patience. Allow yourself to experience those things to know what my next step is and how I'm actually going to, gravitate in the position that I want to be in. And acting is obviously one of those.
Yeah, and if you're going to jump into acting, you have to know what you're doing, right? So you need to. There should be some training. It's not just, hey, I'm going to go say that line. There are people who train. How many years did you train for before you booked your first job, Billy?
A long time.
A long time, right? So, sure, you could take an acting class for 6 months and learn some techniques and do's and don'ts of what to do as an actor, not just being on set. But me as a casting director, if I'm going to audition you for a role, I expect you to know some nuts and bolts.
Don't show up in an audition unprepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't say you know how to play basketball.
Hey.
I'm just kidding, Mark.
That was something I did with him. I said I could still play basketball, and he called me in for the audition, and I nearly broke my ankle. So,
And then you're in a commercial when they bring in CP3, and they're like, all right, go.
No, so, I think it's important. I get a lot of emails from parents, hey, this is my son, my daughter, how can we get involved? I think it's important to maybe do some theater, figure out, get the person needs to be comfortable talking in front of other people. There are people who want to be actors and they come in for their first audition or second or third audition and they've never really done it before because they don't know what they're doing. They blow it, But if you're going to come in front of someone like me or another casting director, I'm at the stage where you need to be ready, right? I'm not there to train you on how to audition when you come into my room to audition for a $30 million production, right? I'm not going to send you to set if you don't understand what you're doing, and I can't trust you on set to do a scene opposite Morgan Freeman, right? If you're going to freak out and lose your stuff. So you need to get some training, Take an acting class. There are some local ones here in New Orleans that you can get involved in. There are kid classes, there are adult classes, there are mixed classes, there are tons of workshops that happen. There are groups on the internet, on Facebook, that announce these different things that go on. So it's just kind of, figuring out the best path for you and doing some research. We can't tell you every little thing to do.
Of course,
but
you got to work for it a bit.
You have to get some training under your belt.
There are a lot of things. I mean, there are a lot of times people can't afford acting classes because they're too expensive. But that your best friend is Google, or not Google, but YouTube is your best friend because there are a lot of free resources on there that you can use to help. But I think the best way to train is literally with people. But that is just an alternative if you cannot afford being in front of other people, So,
well, and as Ryan was saying too, and to Jason's point as well, it's this business is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. And so I think people need to need to manage their expectations. It's not just the immediate glitz. So many people want to rush that process. Like Ryan's saying, you do not want to, if Ryan would see a new actor in his office tomorrow, as an actor, you don't want to get in front of casting too soon. You don't want to get an agent too soon. You want to invest in the process. So get on set first to have the set experience. Do theater if you've never done it before, so you can have that drawn out rehearsal period. Invest in the process. The end result, getting in front of an audience live and then repeatedly. The collaborative, working with others, learning from others. Get in a class. We have great acting schools, acting coaches, and you should be training for at least 6 months before you even start the agent search, who you need before you can even get in front of a casting director.
Well, finding those groups, just case in point, you brought up Google. Google is actually a really great resource in the fact that you need to Google to find the research of those actual casting agents, those extras. You have something on your website called My Casting File, I believe. And if that's a recommendation, I mean, I started researching oh, this is a really cool resource for people to go put their information in and then get on the list to actually get the callback to eventually find out these mass
casting
castings.
file is built for extras specifically.
But a good way to start, as Billy pointed out.
Yeah. So if you're interested in extra work, you go and create a profile on mycastingfile.com and make sure to mark which cities you're available in. And then basically what it does is we have probably about 30 to 40 casting companies around the country, mostly in the Southeast, that use it. And if you mark that you're available in New Orleans, whenever casting notices are posted, they will show up on your dashboard, and you can just go through and see if you fit the specs, and then from your profile, you'll be able to submit to that casting company that put the notice out.
So that's great. It's a great resource for something to get started in. And then you also have, I just want to keep pointing the fact that, your website at ryanglorioso.com, you got some good stuff on there. I mean, you actually are showing a bunch of resources for people to go to actually find out, look, here's some classes, here's some of the other agents that are in town. Here are things that are happening in your area that you need to actually take a look at if this is something serious you want to go down. Now, I just want to bring back another point that you made, which is get into groups. Like, I went to UNO, all right? And at UNO, I had this passion to be an editor because I gave up acting. Came back from New York, was like, acting's for the birds. I'm not going to make enough money in it. That was my opinion at the time. I lost my aspiration to want to be an actor. And I was like, I want the control of the film. Let me become an editor. And I taught myself how to edit. But I started meeting other filmmakers. And as I started doing that, I started to realize, hey, we can't do this alone. I need to find other groups to get into and to practice. And at school, we would get 3-minute scripts. You write 3 pages. We have a little 3-minute piece. You go and make your little 3-minute movie. And so we started to do that on the weekends. And I started meeting all these actors, and they all had these improv troupes. I want to give a little shout out to Sketchy Characters, who really was the ones that, these comedians that I hung out with, that all they wanted to do was go and do improv. And I thought that was a really fantastic way for young actors who are getting in to really learn the craft, bounce ideas off of people, and they wanted to run out and do these little 3-minute skits with me all the time, which helped their craft, helped my craft. So I just have to recommend, find those groups, find those people that are passionate about it, and that'll really kind of help you elevate yourself.
Yeah, you'll learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Networking is key. Research is key. And I mean, this is a business. I mean, you dedicate your time in this like you would do any other career. And, but let's say you have done the research, you have been to these classes. Now you're like, okay, do I need an agent? Ryan, do you really need an agent to audition?
I mean, it's not mandatory, but it's going to be harder for you to get auditions. I mean, we move fast in casting, so...
What about Actors Access? Because a lot of people can still sign up there.
There's Breakdown Services, which is Actors Access as well, and Actors Access is the actor solo side of Breakdown Services. Breakdown Services is one of the biggest casting services in the industry. So basically, we put our casting notices out through Breakdown to all the agents, but we can also release them to Actors Access. Now, I don't always I rarely release my breakdowns to Actors Access unless I'm looking for something very specific that I can't find through the agents. It's just very difficult when we're moving fast to manage actors on an individual basis. Whereas if I have an agency or 10 agencies that can, package who they think are right for the individual roles, we can schedule, a bunch of people at one time with the individual agencies. And then, your agent will help make deals when you actually book the roles. It's easier for them to do that for you than for you as an individual actor to, be making your deals,
Right.
With the casting director.
So it's much easier to get an audition if you have an agent.
It's yes.
And Billy, you have an agent. What was the process like for you to get an agent?
Yeah, to the initial question, not even easier. I mean, you can there's an exception to every rule, and we can all find special cases where somebody didn't have representation and booked something. Representation meaning, an agent. But it is impossible to have a career, to be a working actor, and audition for the many professional union TV shows, commercials, and films that come through town without an agent. Going back to classes and just the collaborative, that's another reason why really invest in get on set and meet people there. Do a play and you're meeting people there. Classes, there's such a networking aspect there. And since it's, we're here with the intent of getting the information out and, locally. So I'm not afraid to name names, as it were. I think people should have the information. Since we have so many working actors in town, some of our top actors offer classes, isolated or ongoing, whether it's Lance Nichols, James Dumont, Jim Gleason. There's the acting school option. I've taught for a long time at Launch School, Launch Model and Talent. What's great there, it can be longer terms, and there's you're learning from a group of acting coaches. So rather than sort of learning from one individual experience, you bounce around and get a well-rounded approach. With the agent, then, I think the best way to go about getting an agent is through a referral, which one of your classmates in an acting class, if they have representation, they can help you navigate the field and refer you there, or certainly as an acting coach. We see very clearly the ones who stand out, and an acting coach will tell you before you ask them. They'll probably come to you and say, hey, you're at a point in your career now where you've been doing good work for a long time. It's time to take it to the next level and get out there and start auditioning.
Yeah, and you don't want to rush that. A lot of people think they should just get an agent right away and start auditioning. But like I said previously, it's like you come in not ready, you're probably not going to come back again. So
don't blow it the first time.
Yeah,
be prepared when you go in. Yeah.
Be prepared, know what you're doing, be confident. Confidence is like key to all of this. If you're not confident, then how are we going to be confident in you, right? So just take your time.
And Hollywood South is such a tight-knit community. So in LA and New York, there's actually a benefit to being lost in the shuffle. There are pros and cons to both sides. Here, it's such a relatively small pool that we can count on one hand the number of casting directors that cast everything.
Yeah.
Likewise, you can count on one hand pretty much the agents that handle the majority of the work. You can count on both hands the talent agents, in total in the state who you want to be with. So you definitely want to make the right impression when you get the chance. And in terms of the finding the right agent, it's like a lot of relationships. People might ask, well, who's the best agent, or who are you with? And the answer to that, it's who's the best agent for you. You want someone that is going to be passionate about you as an individual, your skill set, and you want to be as much of a priority as you can be. I don't want to be when Ryan releases a breakdown looking for a specific type of role to bring in, you don't want to be the seventh person, of that in that category that your agent thinks of. You want to be their go-to, of
course,
if you can.
Yeah, of course. And so, in that realm, I don't want to necessarily get into recommendations on, who is the actual casting director to go towards, but what is the recommendation on some of the classes that they need to find? I mean, obviously we can go to Google and find classes, and we want people to actually get into the experience and have that confidence going into finding an agent. But, what are some of the resources that maybe you started with as an actor? Like did you find a class here and you just kind of search that online, or I know you went to school and did it, but where did you, outside of high school or outside of college, get into any of the classes around here?
I think when we were coming up, there weren't a lot of outside of.
Really? It was like, it was just getting started here.
Yeah,
that's true.
People
2004,
think,
2005.
Yeah, people think, sort of the first class, the first generation OGs of Hollywood South, that, we just, right place at the right time. We just had it lucky because, we were able to get in on the ground floor. But Ryan mentioned certainly the flip side to that is when we were coming up, they didn't have any of us or the resources. So no, there wasn't an acting school that I could go into or casting workshops. So we all had to learn on the job. I mean, for me, it was I actually went to school for it, but theater is my school.
I do casting workshops sometimes. I have in the past, and I know there are two sides to that world. Like there are people who are like, don't ever do casting workshops, but I think in a market like this where things are like unknown, like it's how do I do this, the things that we're talking about on this show, if you come to a casting workshop that I'm doing, you're gonna find out a lot of information. Billy, you've come to one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, and it's just, if you don't know, and it's a casting director or an agent or someone or an actor who is legit and working, and they're going to give you some info that will help you, those are a good resource. And they happen sporadically throughout the Southeast. Someone maybe from Atlanta might go to Alabama, and teach a class for a weekend. So those are a good resource.
So what would you search, like Google? Would you search casting call or casting workshops, or like what can people actually search?
I don't know that those are super searchable. Like if I ever do one, I usually post them on. There's a ton of different Facebook groups like
what are some of the Facebook groups? That if you can think of?
I have Glorioso Casting. I have a Facebook group or page. I actually have both. I'll post it there. I'll post it on every page. I think there's like the Holding Tent is one of them here locally. If you just on Facebook type in like Louisiana acting or something, a bunch of groups will pop up, and you can just go and like look through, see which one has a bunch of members, which one has interesting posts, and maybe gear it towards that.
This is also where knowledge is power. Everyone ask around, do your due diligence, because if you it's a real slippery slope when you just start Googling, acting workshops, casting workshops, agents. You want to make sure you're getting with someone legit. And I mean, as an actor, I'm happy to say in that your first 6-month plan, take a workshop with Ryan as soon as you can.
At the end of it.
At the end, that's right. After you've trained with me for 6 months, go see Ryan.
Sometimes an agency will put it on for their talent, and then if their talent don't fill it, they'll open it up to the public, and they'll invite a casting director to come and teach a day or teach a weekend, just to kind of help people understand, the nuts and bolts. And maybe you're auditioning a lot. Maybe you're at the point where you're auditioning a lot, but you're just not booking. Maybe there are some helpful hints that you can get from one of these classes that will help you to start booking.
And now most of those auditions, I feel, are on tape. And so there's so much more crafting you can do. Instead of a cold call where I'm walking in and actually.
I'll give you a. So I just started a TV show, and it's about 13 roles on the first episode.
13 reasons why 13 roles?
No.
Okay.
No, different. Actually, we're doing that too. And there were about 13 roles. And I want to say I have probably like 460 70 auditions. More than half of which are tapes. So it's, I mean, we're in New Orleans, but we can like cast within a 500-mile radius. So, some people might live in Houston or something like that, so they can send a tape. It has to be good. Of
course.
You have to follow our instructions, hopefully, and just pay attention to what we're asking you to do, frame it correctly, basically do my job. And send a good tape. We cast a lot of folks from. I mean, how many things have you been cast from tapes? Jabari, have you been cast from tapes?
Once, believe it or not, it's for NCIS New Orleans, just once. But I send in
And you
tapes
live
all
here.
the time.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You live
Yeah,
here.
I live
It's,
here and I
it's
still
the
do tapes.
efficiency of
Yeah.
the actual producers that are actually trying to find the talent. I mean, us,
Right.
when we would do the True Don Quixote, a lot, I mean, I don't want to know the numbers percentage-wise, were tapes. But
Yeah.
it was mostly for the efficiency so that all of us could actually see the talent.
Well, for that we actually did callbacks, and you guys met the talent that you were interested after watching
After
the
watching
tapes.
the tapes, yeah.
On television, we rarely do callbacks. So my job, they're hiring me to field the prospects and curate who the best folks are to send up on tape. And
Gotcha.
make sure I know what they look like in person, physically, like they're, going to be what we're looking for. And then mostly they're cast from the tapes.
Okay.
Not the star series regular roles. Those usually have a screen test, in Los Angeles or wherever the home base is. But for the guest actors, it's usually cast from tapes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, self-taping
It's
now,
fast.
Yeah.
it is the new norm. It's the standard. So, like, the many skills that you need to pick up as an actor, audition technique being a separate one, self-taping is one. And like everything else we do, you want to move towards being able to be self-reliant and put together your own great self-tape. But that's another thing that I would definitely recommend early in your career, even though it is yet another financial investment. It's a worthwhile one to hire a professional coach or people that do audition tapes exclusively. Because you want to make the right first impression. Whoever's on the receiving end of this, a producer, a casting director, you want to give them every reason to say yes and no reasons to say no and go, that's amateur.
The self tapes have also opened up the market to so many more people being up for jobs. I mean, we can see so many more people now than we could before all of this technology. So choices. So now your competition's even
Absolutely.
steeper.
Yeah.
Me being a tech guy too, and I don't want to spin off too far, but going back to the experience and going back to sort of getting a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, I mean, you can do the most basic thing on your iPhone. People are creating content and are pushing it through YouTube. That can be your first sort of break-in, is for you to take your own iPhone or have somebody film you doing some little skits at your house. Practice, you know what I'm saying? Get comfortable in front of the camera so that before you actually go to some of these classes or before you go to some of these improvs or meeting some of these people, you actually have a little bit more confidence in front of the camera so that you actually know what you're doing. And hey, some of your content may catch on. I mean, look at what's happening today in our social media marketplace, where these stars, a lot of these stars are obviously coming and driving from that platform, which is getting more and more interesting, which I obviously see is going to push really, really hard and fast with the Hulus, Amazons, and Netflix of the world, that all of our content is coming to our computer, to our phones. The big screen is obviously, in my mind, going to always be there, but you're now going to have a much larger market of a much broader versions and different varieties of content out there. And so that's obviously one way that you can go and do it on your own. I don't want to say for free because it costs money to buy an iPhone, but maybe your parents or your friends have this that you can actually start from.
There are free cell phones. No, your point is completely correct. I mean, there are working professional actors that tape all their auditions just on their phone, and it's top quality. But just from a beginner standpoint, get comfortable in front of the camera. Like you said, you don't have to invest in all this professional equipment and setup. Everyone has their cell phone. Practice on camera. what you're working on in class, get comfortable. When you get to the phase where you're now seeking an agent, that's one of the catch-22s where it's like, well, you want to show them that you can perform, but if you haven't done anything yet because you don't have an agent, so I mean, you could tape a really good monologue, something you can show for yourself, and then of course before you get into casting and agents, you need good headshots. Mm-hmm. There are also a handful of really great headshot photographers locally, and that's something I would recommend too. Sort of the trial period. Do a test shoot just on your own with your phone with friends. Knowledge is power, and experience is power. You know, do the trial and error on your own time. Learn on your own before you get in front of the professional, and now the results will be that much higher.
And also, if you are getting to the point of getting a theatrical agent, you want to make sure they know what you can do. So if someone just sees a picture of you and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll represent you," we'll start sending you on auditions. They have no idea who you are. Yeah. So you want someone to want to see a scene from you, okay? And you should want to do a scene for them, you know, and not just like, "Oh yeah, you see the way I look, so you know I'm gonna be blah." Okay, so
a basketball player.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it all the time.
Those days are over.
Typecast.
Yeah, so you know you want to showcase what you can do for them, so they know what to send you out for. You know.
Absolutely.
And a lot of things, you got to have a reel, right? So it helps to have a reel, but how do you get a reel? And then it goes back into getting into these groups, see who's making films. You know, what have you done online, you know, on your own cell phone and stuff. But there are a lot of student films.
Yeah, get involved in
as well, especially if there's a college that teaches film. Generally, there's going to be a student film somewhere. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they don't pay, but, you know.
From my perspective on reels, though, yes, it is very helpful to have one. But if it's not good, I don't want to see it. If I see it, I'll judge it.
Well, then that's a good point.
It can't
you need
be
to find
unseen.
out where are they going to get that opinion from? You know what I mean?
If they need, you know, an actor needs to have good taste and let other people besides their mom,
who's got a biased opinion,
let them know like what's good and not good.
That's where a trusted acting coach comes in. You know,
you may have done a film, but it doesn't mean it's good, right? So get good clips to represent you in the best possible way. You know, if you're like, I go on Breakdown all the time and I'm seeing new faces, and they'll have the little video icon that I can click on and watch their video clips, and it's like, oh, okay, no, the picture was great, but never mind, like they can't talk. You know, you have to be, there has to be quality there. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna, you're putting that up for me to potentially call you in based on just that. So have good taste.
Have different opinions on your reels. You know, like it's somebody.
I mean, it's subjective, but you know, maybe you did a film and you were great in it, but like it's not great quality and it looks like it's not something I would ever send to the studio as a representation of like what we're going to cast on our show. You know, maybe like all the other actors aren't great, but you're really good. And this can be hard for me to want to use that.
Yeah.
So I'll just bring you into audition.
A good news with reels is now it's actually more advantageous to people with less experience. You know, back in the day it was whichever guy had the biggest, baddest reel, you know, that was the top dog. No one has time anymore to watch a 9-minute reel. So since everything's moved online and it's short attention span and it's clips and it's, you know, deadlines, rather than some full drawn out reel, if you just do one good scene in something in an NCIS New Orleans, well, now you can upload that, and your agent can send that whenever they want. Casting can search it whenever they want, and it doesn't matter that it's isolated to a specific show. You know, if you're playing a cop or something in that one scene, well, if you're a cop type, I mean that one clip can book you on other roles. Yeah,
there are trends in demos. You know, it used to be, and Billy, maybe you had one like this. There would be like the musical montage at the beginning, like with like all your different looks, and then it would go into scenes. Nobody has time to watch that musical montage or wants to hear your favorite song.
Just get into it.
Just let's see the scenes.
Absolutely.
You know, you could put a little title and let us know what it's from or who directed it. you know, because sometimes that's very helpful. Oh, so and so directed him. I know him. I can give him a call and see if he was cool to work with. You know,
That's good info. That is good info.
One other, in terms of resources, we haven't mentioned for people that are less familiar with the business, the website IMDb to me is invaluable, because it's not just, some people might just think as an entertainment app, you know, it's about the star meter, but it's something that's actually a really great resource or guide in the business. Anyone who's done anything. So now if you're just at the phase of who do I train with, you see advertisements for a casting workshop or an acting coach. Just type in their name, and it's that simple. Anyone who's done anything in the business, if you Google them, that's the first thing that comes up. So now you can see the credits of who you're training with or who you're auditioning for. And then even, you know, you can upgrade for the IMDb Pro service, which now also includes agents and their client list. So, you know, back to the agent point, you can see who they represent and say, you know what, they don't have anyone exactly in my category. So if they're expressing interest, that's probably a really good place
it's a
to start.
great point. I'd also recommend that, you know, in each of your respective cities, because obviously I want this to go beyond New Orleans, since we're in New Orleans and there's a big hub here. But we're seeing a lot of activity in Shreveport. There's a lot of activity in Alexandria now, a lot of activity in Lafayette and Lake Charles. I want people to make sure that they're contacting their film department there. If there is an interest there and you want to know where some of these groups are, start with the film director. If there is an actual film department in each of your cities, give them a call. Find out where those resources are. Because here we have filmneworleans.org, and you can go to it, and literally the front headline on the page says, "Here's how to be an extra," and it literally breaks down. Here's how the steps that you need to take, and obviously has your website on there and all the other casting directors on there. It gives really great information, at least, for you to get out there and find out. But I want others to take that step and that initiative to call their film director in their particular area, and if there's not one, maybe one in the surrounding area, to really kind of find those things out, because they may need to set up a website to really kind of help these resources and guide people in those directions, considering the fact that we're getting so much activity in this state now.
And
So-
another great resource that we haven't mentioned are film festivals.
Absolutely.
So as an actor, you need to, as you're seeking an agent, you need to make sure you're doing everything an agent doesn't do. An agent does not get you extra work. You can do that on your own. Sign up on My Casting File. An agent does not get you theater. Do that on your own. Through school or a community theater church group. An agent does not get you student films. No matter where you are, there's a college near you. Student filmmakers need to make student films. They need actors for it. Many times they cannot hire professional actors. And then film festivals are another great resource. We have the New Orleans Film Fest about to start up every fall. Louisiana International Film Fest is in Baton Rouge every spring. And then there are more and more smaller regional. There's a brand new film fest on the North Shore, or niche in terms of genre. There might be like a local horror film fest.
Louisiana Film Prize in Shreveport.
48-hour project.
48
so
hours
that's a
are great.
resource
Yeah.
to meet up and coming filmmakers in every arena.
Louisiana Film Prize, you can win $50,000 though.
That's right.
Ooh, that's a big one.
And then
right
you
there.
can fund that first 6 months
There you
or
go.
first year of your
Absolutely.
career.
You brought 48 Hour. Like, I started in 48 Hour, and we were at UNO, and we did it like 3 years in a row and just had a ball. I loved it. And the fact that, you can literally go there and just state, I'm an actor, or I'm a sound guy, or I'm a camera guy, and not really be part of a group, and they'll try to help you find a way to get to be part of different groups. It's a really great organization.
Yeah.
And it makes you, I love the fact that it makes you think on your feet, get everybody organized very quickly, produce a film, punch it out, edit it in time, and hand that sucker in 48 hours. I love
crazy.
that. It was a really, really great idea that people came up with to build more
That's
filmmakers.
another good way to find work.
Absolutely.
Go do the
Yeah.
48-hour film fest.
And think about it. All these things we're talking about, it have a lot to do with finding ways of gaining experience, networking, and honing your craft. And, going back to the patience that we started with, being patient and knowing that if you're prepared for an opportunity and you're preparing yourself for an opportunity, it's only going to open more doors for you when you actually have one that you can step right through on. And you can obviously build from that and hopefully build a career into which you aspire to be. So
Luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. We've all heard that one, but I go a step further and create your own opportunities.
hey, create fun. I got a hashtag. I love that.
There you go.
Create. So, guys, anything else that you all want to wrap up here today with? I really appreciate y'all coming in and giving us all this fantastic information, because I really want filmmakers to have a place to come to really kind of find some of the resources that I feel are either missing or just not expressed. There's not really a launch pad I feel that everything needs to go to, and I want to try and push more of those things out on these shows. So thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
actors can listen to my podcast.
Yes.
Talking Like Normal People.
Love it.
Usually with actors or casting. So
And where can people find you, Billy?
Yeah, well, not only can every actor needs to listen to Ryan's podcast. That's another invaluable resource of
Absolutely.
information that's safe.
free info.
Free, and you don't have to get in front of these casting directors and fail to learn the hard way. I'm at launchmodelandtalent.com where I teach. Please check out Dark Meridian.
Yes.
Was a local independent film, New Orleans cast, New Orleans crew. We're really proud of. That just came out for download in the spring. And this week, I'm going to be on The Purge tomorrow night. I'm going to be on The First Friday night. So a lot of stuff going
Yeah.
on.
The Purge on USA, right?
That's not tonight?
No, I think Purge is Tuesday night on
okay.
USA.
Gotcha.
USA, right?
And then The First is on Hulu,
On Hulu.
which premieres this Friday night.
Awesome.
So
Exciting.
check that out.
And you're opposite Sean Penn in that, right?
Opposite Sean Penn, the show's created by Beau Willimon, who created House of Cards. So and it's set. It's not just shot in New Orleans; it's set in New Orleans. So another thing we can all really be proud of.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We're really, really excited about that one. And we can find you on social at Billy Slaughter 1, right?
Yes, Twitter and Instagram at Billy Slaughter 1 and just Billy Slaughter on Facebook.
And Ryan Glorioso, you're at Ryan Glorioso.
At Glorioso Casting.
At Glorioso Casting. So go check these guys out for sure. Guys, I appreciate you all coming in here today.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for being
Thank
part
you.
of this first show.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you back sometime soon.
Let's do it.
All right.
Appreciate
That's
it,
a
guys.
wrap.